Seattle and Cincinnati was by far the best game of week 5, and it was a statement game for both teams. The Bengals could make a statement letting people know that they are for real by beating a quality team like Seattle even at home. And for the Seahawks, it would have been a statement win letting teams know they are back despite losing the first 2 games of the season. And to start the game, Seattle played pretty well. They got up 24-7 in the fourth quarter, yet went on to lose. Cincinnati now moves to 5-0. Seattle is now 2-3. And honestly, the playoffs could be in jeopardy for Seattle. Welcome back to the Best Damn Sports Blog. Back again to talk NFL with you guys, specifically the Seahawks and Bengals game that took place on Sunday because it was a great one. And going into the fourth quarter, I'm thinking Seattle has this in the books. They're up 24-7 with only 15 minutes to go. With that defense, I thought they were set and were headed to a 3-2 record. But no, for the third time this season, Seattle has blown a fourth quarter lead and gone on to lose the game. And just think about it. Had Cam Chancellor not made that late hit on Calvin Johnson to save him from scoring the game-winning touchdown, it would be 4 out of 5 games that Seattle has blown the lead in the fourth quarter. And that is not what we've known from Seattle. Their defense is good still. And they rank high in every statistical category defensively. But man, they have not been great at holding leads, and their offense doesn't help them at all, especially in this game, because Seattle, in their final 6 drives, none of them lasted longer than 6 plays, and they all resulted in punts. So with a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, Seattle could not hold on. Andy Dalton cooked Seattle all day as well. He was 30 of 44 passing for 331 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Andy Dalton came up big, especially down the stretch, making big throws. And man, did Tyler Eifert cook Cam Chancellor all game. We know he isn't great at defending the pass, and Andy Dalton and Tyler Eifert took complete advantage of that. Tyler Eifert had 2 touchdown catches, and as well as a huge catch that set up the game-time field goal in which Cincinnati would then go on to win in overtime. So here we are, through 5 weeks, the 2-time defending NFC champion Seattle Seahawks are 2-3. They trail Arizona in the NFC West by 2 games and are a half game back of Minnesota in the NFC for the last wild card spot. Them grouped up with about 6-7 other teams at 2-3, and those other teams would be Tampa Bay, Dallas, Washington, and Philadelphia, along with Chicago, are all 2-3. And at the level that Arizona is playing, it's hard to think Seattle will win the NFC West. 2 games back is not out of reach. But Arizona is flying high, no pun intended, and I don't see Seattle being able to catch them. Now, I think the best way for them to do so is to win both of their games versus Arizona this season, but that's a tough task to ask of Seattle. A divisional opponent to be able to sweep them, and it's the Arizona Cardinals, who were a playoff team last year, and had Carson Palmer not gone down to injury, they could have been a Super Bowl contender. So in my estimation, I believe Seattle, if they are going to make the playoffs, it will be via a wild card position. And with Atlanta and Carolina both undefeated so far, you got to think one of the wild card spots is coming from the NFC South. So now Seattle is in a dogfight with 8 other teams for that final wild card position. Minnesota holds it currently at 2-2, but then like I stated earlier, you got Tampa, Dallas, Washington, St. Louis, Seattle, Philadelphia, and Chicago all at 2-3. And out of those teams, I think Seattle's biggest competition will be Philadelphia, Minnesota, and St. Louis. And I guess you can throw Dallas in there depending on how fast Tony Romo is able to come back and what Whedon is able to do, if he is able to carry Dallas to any wins to keep them in contention. But Seattle, the thing they have working for them out of those three teams that I think is their biggest competition is the fact that they have the best quarterback out of the bunch. I'll take Russ Wilson over Teddy Bridgewater, Nick Foles, and Sam Bradford any day. And we still know their defense is very stout. Their offense has somewhat been problematic, though they had the best rushing offense in the league. When it comes to passing, Russ Wilson, he has not been that great this season. I wouldn't say he's been poor, not at all, but he has not been great. Jimmy Graham is still not implemented into the offense how he should be. He only has 21 receptions for 204 yards through 5 games. Jimmy Graham? Like, they have to find a way to utilize him. He is a big target that he can be put out wide, set up as a tight end, and he's not a blocker. They didn't bring him in to block, so please find a way to utilize Jimmy Graham because he can be a dominant force. The numbers Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham put up together were no fluke. If utilized right, Jimmy Graham is the second best tight end in the NFL, right behind Rob Gronkowski. So we're a little bit past 1/4 ways through this season, and I just got to say, it's still a lot of time left for Seattle to turn things around and possibly even win the division. I think they will make the playoffs, most likely from a wild card position, but there is one thing I want to say. This is not the same Seattle team we saw last season or even the season before when they went on to win the Super Bowl. This Seattle team is not as great, and I do not believe they will come out of the NFC. I believe Green Bay is a better team, Atlanta, and Carolina as of right now, along with Arizona, So Seattle, following this embarrassing loss in which they blown a 17-point lead, they put themselves behind the 8-ball. They are now 2-3, trail Arizona by 2 games, and they somewhat have to reel off a win streak to solidify themselves a wild card spot or to challenge Arizona for the NFC West. I think this team can definitely do it. We need to see bigger things from that offense, especially in the fourth quarter when their team has a lead. Their defense also has to be able to hold on to leads. And I think that is fixable because Seattle, we know their defense is great. The one thing is, though, Kerry Williams is not a quote-unquote member of the Legion of Boom. The Legion of Boom either hit people or they lock them down, and Kerry Williams is doing neither so far. But when it comes to Seattle, I cannot just write them off. We've seen this team do great things the past 2 seasons, and for real, since Pete Carroll has taken over the team, they've been doing great things, improving year by year. So I will not write off the Seahawks. I believe they will still make the playoffs, but they are not the dominant team they were last year or definitely 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. Now, as far as it goes for the Bengals, this was a big-time win for them. This was a statement win, letting people know, yes, we have Andy Dalton at quarterback, but he is not poor. He is a good quarterback, and this season, he's been pretty good, damn near great, Andy Dalton. But we know, when it comes to Cincinnati and Andy Dalton, what matters most is what happens this postseason. Hopefully, under Andy Dalton, they can get their first postseason win, as well as under Marvin Lewis, because this team may be the best all-around team in the whole NFL. They might be just a little bit better than the Patriots and Packers. They have players at every position, and both sides of the ball, they're good, as well as special teams. This team has a chance to really represent the AFC if Andy Dalton can live up to the potential and show that he can lead a team through the playoffs and even farther. But it all starts with that first playoff win.